Hello, and welcome to the Psychic Side here on the A1R Psychic Radio Network, Moonstruck TV, and Enlightening TV. You're visiting the number one psychic radio network on Earth. How about that? I'm your host, John Cappello, and I'm a psychic medium from Texas. And before we get started today, I want to just take a moment to remember D-Day. Today is June 6th. My father was there on a ship. He was unloading supplies for the troops. He was a merchant marine, and he served 2 tours of duty then. May he rest in peace, and thanks to all who served that day and since. So usually before we talk about our content on our program, we talk a little, or I talk a little bit about astrology, but today I want to focus on my guest, and you can probably already see her there. She'll come on in just a moment. But for nearly 16 years, Texas, Jennifer, she's a native Texan. Jennifer Farmer has worked as a professional intuitive medium and spiritual teacher. She has given public demonstrations for her mediumship and taught signature workshops on developing intuition and connecting with the spirit world. She's been featured on Spirit Connections with John Holland, Dr. Pat Pacelli, and many others. In 2008, the native Texan, Jennifer Farmer has worked as a professional intuitive medium and spiritual teacher. She has given public demonstrations for her mediumship and taught signature workshops on developing intuition and connecting with the spirit world. She's been featured on Spirit Connections with John Holland, Dr. Pat Pacelli, and many others. In 2008, the native Texan, Jennifer Farmer has worked as a professional intuitive medium and spiritual teacher. She has given public demonstrations for her mediumship and taught signature workshops on developing intuition and connecting with the spirit world. She's been featured on Spirit Connections with John Holland, Dr. Pat Pacelli, and many others. In 2008, the native Texan, Jennifer Farmer has worked as a professional intuitive medium and spiritual teacher. She has given public demonstrations for her mediumship and taught signature workshops on developing intuition and connecting with the spirit world. She's been featured on Spirit Connections with John Holland, Dr. Pat Pacelli, and many others. In 2008, the native Texan, Jennifer Farmer has worked as a professional intuitive medium and spiritual teacher. She has given public demonstrations for her mediumship and taught signature workshops on developing into knowing that we have a finite time here on Earth, and that we're going to be seeing those that we lost, those that were so dear to us again, is such an extremely important thing. And, you know, lots of mediums write books about grief. I'm one of them. But today we're going to focus on Jennifer's book, A Healing Journey. And so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring her into our program. So, hi, Jennifer. How are you today?
Hey, John. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, what inspired you to write The Healing Journey and how to heal grief and rebuild your life after loss? What was your inspiration for that?
Well, I've really been working with my clients and students to help them feel more connected to their loved ones in the grief process, no matter what time, whether it's 5 years or 5 minutes. And one of the things I found is a lot of people struggle with kind of getting a continuity of messages for themselves, feeling their loved ones. And some of that I feel from the feedback that I got from my students is they're in that realm of grief. And so it's hard to hear, see, and feel the presence of our loved ones. And so my goal with the book, it was really to help sort of prepare you to have communication with your loved ones. And so that's really the inspiration for the book, to help really make that consistent communication and knowing and trusting more available to everybody.
Yeah, well, very good, because I know a lot of times people say they can't feel that person. They say, what happened? How come they're not communicating with me? And they come in for a reading and they're right there. And I just say, listen, I feel like the reason why you're not feeling them is because you're in grief, and there's kind of a shroud, or there's a little bit of energy that kind of blocks them. So So that's good. I'm glad you kind of recognize the same thing with wanting people to kind of connect with their loved ones and know that they're still there. Because I don't know if you're like me, I just feel like people who love us, they want to stay around us, and so they come in when we're doing a reading for them. So, who is the book for, and when is a good time for someone to read it?
Well, the book is for anyone who is ready to begin their healing journey. They're ready to kind of take a next step forward and kind of make some healing changes in their life. I always feel like that making a decision to move and heal from grief and loss is part of the first step.
Hmm.
And so, as far as who it's for, is I'd say anybody 18 years or older, check. Anybody who has gone through a loss or has reoccurring loss or depression as a result of a past loss or experience. As
Yeah.
far as new people that have lost loved ones, honestly, I think that's up to each person and depending on the way the loss happened. Some people have anticipatory grief, and in that, meaning the person hasn't passed, maybe they're
Hmm.
long-term caregivers, they have a different flow in how grief may appear to them and they experience them beforehand. So some of the work that we do in the workbook kind of prepares you for whatever stage grief you might be in and experiencing.
Yeah, you make them work, don't you?
Yes, it is an internal job, and I do, and you're 100% right. I don't feel like people are blocked from messages. I feel like what happens is because our body is in shock or denial from the grief, that our ability to, and I call it sort of my porcupine senses, they're
Yeah.
not as refined and they're not as sharp because you're dealing with heavy emotions, and those can sort of cloud your ability to perceive when a loved one is with you.
And maybe they're just trying a little too hard,
Yeah,
you know? Because what happens is we no longer have that physical relationship.
right.
We have a spiritual relationship, and that spiritual relationship is a little bit different. You have to kind of get used to it. So that's
Mm.
very good that you're giving them that encouragement to keep trying.
Thank
So
you, John.
what can a reader expect when they are reading the book?
Well, first of all, again, it is a journey, which means you're not going to read one chapter and be completely free of the pain of grief. It is an
Mhm.
experience through 5 strategies to help you rebuild your life. And just like a house isn't built overnight. And so we go through this sort of mindset and giving yourself permission, planning for those hard days and what to do about that, beginning to look at new identities on example like married couples and a widow, her or his identity changes a lot in how they communicate with people. We
Mhm.
go through different strategies on how to find a purpose to help sort of get you out of the bed in the
Yeah.
morning. And then finally, the last strategy is where I really talk about preparing to get to know the spirit realm, how they work with you, because I believe we need all 5 of those strategies to really make a transformation into a new perspective of living. Because we always see the world different with each experience, and my hope is that it gives each reader a little bit of validation, a little bit of relief, some tools, and for people that are structured people, give you some tools and some ideas that you can experiment with. And then, of
Mhm.
course, for those that haven't been open to the spirit world before, but have felt their loved ones with them, it gives you a chance to explore that a little bit more so that you can find the comfort that comes from hearing, feeling, and seeing a loved one.
Yeah. I noticed also in the book you have some affirmations.
I do.
You have people that you want people to say, basically, I'm going to get better, you know,
Yeah.
And so kind of creating a positive energy around you to make you, to give you hope again, to give you
Yes.
some, an idea that life continues for you.
Right.
And,
Right.
a lot of times when people, they've been a caregiver for a long time, and then suddenly they don't have that person to care for anymore. There's a certain grief there. What do I do with my life? And
Right.
so by having your workbook, it kind of get people to kind of make a plan, you know, how to move forward. So I like that about that. So, what do you suggest for people who want to connect with their loved ones on the other side? How do you suggest they do that?
Well, first of all, you just have to acknowledge that the possibility is there. I always encourage people just to consider that their communication will feel and look different than like you and I talking right now. It's rare that we have that, that subject, that objective hearing like we had verbally. It is nonverbal communication. So first thing I always encourage people is to learn how to get still and
Mm,
quiet
mm,
so that you can still your body to open up your antenna and to also pay attention when you're doing, I call it no brainer activities like washing the dishes and taking a shower and doing gardening, where you might hear your loved one's voice, meaning their words, or you feel they're present. Is just to acknowledge that, hey, I love you
mhm.
too. I
Yeah.
always like there's a two-way communication there.
Mm. So you like for people to kind of get rid of that monkey brain and where all that clutter is, and just
Yeah.
kind of be still and be at peace. And now, do you find that sometimes when people have pictures of their loved ones or just different things that help remind them of a loved one when they are meditating, you feel like that helps a little bit?
I do. There's a couple of ways. I always encourage people to keep if their shirts or something that they can sort of wear or hold in their hand, because in the beginning, and I actually like it when it's to use those items when it's further down the path, let's say 5, 6, 7 years, because our needs to hear from them change. And so when we have that item that we can hold, it kind of puts us back into that space
Yeah.
of feeling their energy. So it's not that, and I love your idea about the monkey mind, but I think of it like we're
Well, that
tuning in a new antenna, right?
yeah.
And one of the second things I have found to be the most valuable is for people to have a little journal when they feel their loved ones with them, that they write that down for a couple reasons. One is it helps validate that communication is happening. But 5 years down the road, you may be in a different place and wonder if your loved one has forgot about you. And when you go back and you look at that, all the sort of items that you've
Yeah.
written down, it puts you back into that space. Your antenna goes up, your
Yeah.
receptors come open, and that you can begin to connect and have that communication again.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about just having kind of a little memorial? A lot of times I find that clients keep their loved ones who have been cremated on the mantle. Some keep them in the bedroom, the closet, but by having a little memorial, what do you think of something like that? Does that help people, or what would
I
you say?
think I think each person has to explore what
Hmm.
they need, right? Some people, like, I would not use that I wouldn't have ashes on my mantle just because I'm sort of feng shui about that. But having my mother's robe with me and bringing those photos out on those special days, birthdays, and anniversaries, I feel like there's a lot of way to memorialize our loved ones. It can be with ashes, and some people love like having them in a charm, right?
Hmm.
And so I feel like that's a personal experience for everyone. To maybe they have a special day, maybe they do
Yeah.
a butterfly release, maybe they have a special song that they play, right?
Well,
But I do believe rituals are
mhm,
important from a love
mhm.
standpoint. Lets us remember how to express love and keep that connection to the invisible world going.
Well, remembering someone's birthday,
Yes.
or even today, like
Yeah.
today's June 6th, D-Day. My
Yeah.
father, uh, he was in the newspaper for what he did. He did. I
Yeah.
mean, like I say, he was merchant marines. They had an ugly job. I'm not going to talk about it here on the radio,
Yeah, they
but
did.
they had they did their part. And you need those people
Yeah.
that are the unsung heroes. We know about those brave people
Mm.
that fought on the beach, but you want to remember those certain memories that they had, and memories that you may have had that you can dwell on, and so that's another way of kind of
Yes.
connecting with them. At least, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that, of course, you and I understand the importance of symbols and things like that. Like, I
Mhm.
know that when my mom comes by, she comes by in this, I see this car sort of pass around the road that it's not even made anymore. And when I see it, it's so funny. Like, my grandson and my son are coming here this
Yeah,
week. And I've been thinking, Mom, guess who's coming to town, right? And, 3 or 4 days later, here comes that car down the road that's not even being made anymore in the exact
yeah,
color. And I'm
yeah,
like, she got the
yeah.
message.
Well, sometimes it's a song, and you get
Yeah.
chills down your spine, because that's kind of a connection right there too.
Yeah.
And so there's different ways that people in the spirit world communicate with us, and
Oh, yeah.
it's like you said, your antenna goes up,
Yeah.
and it's quite amazing. And the more that you are the more you recover from grief, your world seems to open up. Wouldn't you say that? And you start to
Yes.
recognize some things.
But I think I think the hardest thing for grief is feeling like it's okay to open up. I know
Hmm.
that, and you did a great reading for me years ago with my dad. It was fabulous, and I
I
just wanted to
remember.
say he also was a veteran. And
Oh,
what's really amazing about making the decision to say I'd like to explore if I can feel better or feel differently or have some joy in my life. A lot of people feel like they're being disloyal to their loved ones because they're thinking, well, if I look happy, does that mean when they're looking
yeah,
upon me that I don't love them? And of course, that's in the physical, I call that our physical love, but the spiritual love, that's not, and you know this,
hmm,
they don't, that's not the way the spirit world lives. They come from a place of unconditional love and healing, and they want to see us happy. And that's why I feel like giving yourself permission to just consider um, a new purpose, to take care of yourself, to find one little thing that you can do to open yourself up to a new experience. And a lot of people, I love this in Florida, a lot of people volunteer at like the animal shelters. Why? Because animals are amazing, but it gives you a purpose. It's loving, it's charitable, and you don't have to be in perfect form to volunteer. And so I always, it's one of the chapters in the book about, giving yourself permission to find a purpose in that healing process. Yeah. Oh, John, there you go. You're muted, Mr. John. It's Techieville,
so
USA.
let's see how that does. Does that help?
That's so much better. Thank
That's
you.
better. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We've been having some technical issues today. It's
Yeah. That woo
uh,
woo world doesn't.
but we're persevering and getting through them.
Yeah, we
so
are.
So, there's lots of different things you can do to heal. I think you're pointing them out.
Yeah.
And, animals, like we were saying, can give us a new purpose. And because they're like family, especially cats
Yes.
and dogs, and they have such personalities, and they kind of are in tune with us. They kind of know when we don't feel well, and
Yeah.
cuddle up to us, or they'll give us a little nudge. I know our animals are very much a part of our lives here at our home.
Yes.
But no, you give people a lot of tools in your book
Hmm.
to heal, and like you say, it's an individual thing. Would you say?
Oh, yeah. One thing that I forgot to mention is if people decide to purchase the book, one of the key things in it is in the back of the book, you can sign up for the book online. You get that as part of it. So you can get the worksheets and guided meditations, and you get access to me. So if you have questions while you're actually going through the book, I'll help you with them. And it's not a robot, it's really me.
Well, very good. That's good. That's good. So, where can people purchase the book?
Oh, Amazon.com.
Is that where you published it, or
Yeah, I actually published it on my own, and then I put it on Amazon.
you did? Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left, and I'd like for you to just tell us a little bit about some of the upcoming online and in-person events that you have this month. And can you share just a little bit about them? And then we're going to have to wrap up the show as it goes so fast. But please tell us what's going on.
It always goes fast when you're having fun, John.
Yeah.
So, here we are. I've got two events. One locally here in Grapevine, Texas. It's an evening of messages with the spirit world. I'll share some tips on how to connect and share messages with people live in the audience. I also have an online event this month on the 21st. You can find these events on my website. It's a little bit different. It's more of a workshop. There's more of some dialogue, but again, that's how to connect with your loved ones more. There's a little bit more of a workshop feel because we have a PowerPoint and tools, and we meditate together. So I invite anybody who's been curious about the spirit world to just come to my website or check out I know you get some great books too. And I always found books can be resourceful as we're starting something new.
Okay, well, very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today on the psychic side. Be sure, I'm going to tell our audience to join us next week. This weekend, I'm at the Plano Event Center at the Holistic Fair. I'll be speaking Sunday at 1 o'clock. Come by and visit my booth. I want to say thanks to my sponsor, Miracles of Joy. Be sure to use the promo code 0223 on their website and buy a bunch of stuff. So, like my Facebook page. I'm waiting for people to like my Facebook page. So with that, we want to say thank you once again to Jennifer, and so long this week from the psychic side. Bye-bye.